If I asked you what you are doing to eat better as an athlete, would you just say I'm eating more protein, etc.? Haven't you heard the saying, if you want to go where very few go, you have to do what very few are willing to do? If you want to go where very few go, then you need to eat what very few are willing to eat. Eating more doesn't make you D1. The competition is tougher than ever. And most athletes, they're already eating more. They're already eating more protein. That doesn't separate you. The ones who build muscle that actually translates to better performance and separates them from everybody else are the ones who eat with purpose and a plan. If your training can't look like everyone else's, your nutrition shouldn't either. You need to train when no one else is watching, but you also need to eat what no one else is willing to eat. In this episode, I'm going to share with you guys 3 things athletes need to do to build muscle that actually translates to better performance, that actually helps you from separate yourself as an athlete. Yes, we're going to build muscle, but we're also going to do it in a way that actually helps you be an elite athlete. Because you don't need to eat just everything in sight. You don't just need to chug a bunch of protein shakes. You need to eat with purpose. You need to eat with a plan. So, first off, athletes who build muscle, they actually eat enough to grow. Most of you guys say, I'm eating more, I'm eating all the time, but you're not even close. The number of times I've taken a look at what an athlete's eating in a day, and it's nowhere near what is required to build that muscle and allow them to play at a high level. They're eating 3 meals a day and that's it. They're not really taking any snacks in. They're not really eating pre-workout. A lot of times they're waiting hours afterwards to eat post-workout. That is not what is required to help you play at a high level. You know, you need to make sure, number one, that your nutrition matches your workload, but also that your nutrition can support your growth. Because when we're talking about building muscle, when we're talking about eating more to allow you to play at a high level, we're not just talking about eating more for your workouts. You're eating more to support your growth because you are actively growing. If you want to reach your height potential, if you want to reach your overall potential, you need to eat enough to, number one, match your growth and that growing phase you're going through, but then number 2, to actually match your training load. And then number 3, if you're wanting to gain size, we're going to need to eat even more than that. So as you number one have to understand you got to eat a lot more than you really realize. But number 2, if your training increases, your intake has to increase too. If you go from summer workouts to 2-a-days, it's going to look a little different. If you're going from football season to basketball season, it's going to look a little bit different. If you're going from baseball to basketball, it's going to look way different. So, number 1, you cannot skip meals. Skipping meals means you're skipping progress. But number 2, if you have a different training schedule, if you're training a lot more than you used to, you need to up your intake. The number of times I've talked to athletes, even former college and pro athletes, who admit they're like, yeah, I would start off the season, maybe football season or basketball season, I'd start off with 190. And then by the end of that season or the next season, I'd be down to 175, 170. It's like 15 to 20 pounds. You are losing muscle during that time. You might be losing some fat, you might be leaning a little bit, but you're definitely losing some muscle. So we've got to make sure that we're adjusting to those training loads or to those game loads. And so really, really think about this. If you're always tired, if you're always sore, it's not just about being weak. You're just flat out not eating enough. And so if your body feels run down late in the season, if your body is feeling run down from multiple games, multiple practices, you just got to eat more. That's the first step. Like, we just got to eat more, more than you think that you need to eat. And then number 2 is athletes who actually build muscle that translates to real performance. They don't just slant protein. They eat right. If you are trying to play like the 1%, then why are you eating like the other 99%? Why are you eating like every other high schooler if you want to be an elite athlete, if you want to be that top 1%? That just doesn't make sense to me. Everyone else is already trying to eat more protein. Everyone else is trying to eat more calories. Elite athletes take care of the rest. Protein helps build muscle tissue. No doubt. We need protein to build muscle. We should be eating protein with every meal, with every snack, except for like right before a workout. But carbs help fuel that training. Carbs help feed that muscle to support that muscle growth. So if you're not getting enough carbs, your workouts aren't going to be as effective. You're not going to have as much energy, which means you're not going to perform as well. You're not going to have as much strength, speed, energy, endurance for those workouts. But then the next thing, and this is where a lot of athletes fail, is all the other stuff. The vitamins, the minerals, all of the other little nutrients that keep you healthy long enough to train again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. When you look at the diets of LeBron, of Otani, of Tom Brady, of all of these athletes who play at a high level for a long freaking time, they take care of their bodies. The ones who don't get injured a lot, they do more than just protein and calories. They'll have little tweaks that they do, but regardless, they emphasize more fruits, more veggies, more whole grains, more beans and lentils and all those things. They emphasize more quality, not just quantity. So if you really want to separate yourself, stop chugging a bunch of protein shakes. If you want to be a part of the 1%, stop just downing a bunch of protein bars, protein shakes, and meal replacement shakes or mass gainers. Let's eat real freaking food. And there's so many ways you can do it. Protein smoothies, easy. Turn your protein shake into a protein smoothie. You get greens in there that you're not even going to taste. You get fruits in there that are going to taste good and add some carbs and add some muscle recovery. You could even add nuts, peanut butter, seeds. You can add all sorts of things that help with the calories, but also with the recovery side of things. You could also do things like eating more eggs, avocado, olive oil, things like that, where you're getting a good amount of healthy fats. Those are going to help support recovery. Those are going to help support you getting enough calories in a day. You could be eating more oatmeal, more fruits, more quinoa, rices, whole wheat breads instead of the white breads. All of those changes right there going to give you more sustained energy, but they're also going to give you nutrients that help you bounce back faster, that are going to help you stay healthy, going to help you not get sick as much, but also help you so that you are not getting injured as much either. On the protein side, yes, the eggs are a good start, but there's also turkey, there's chicken, there's fish. Fish is super underrated. Fish, especially the omega-3 fish, the salmon, the sardines, the mackerel, those are the types of foods that not only are going to help you with the protein, but they're also going to give you nutrients that help you with brain development, that help you with focus, that help you with recovery so that you're not injured as much, so you're not sore for as long, that really just help you stay healthy. So if you want to be that guy, if you want to play your sport as long as possible, as many of you guys tell me you guys want to play your sport as long as possible, stop just focusing on protein, stop just focusing on calories, get the healthy fats, get the fruits, get the veggies, get the whole grains, get all the good stuff that actually allows you to play at a high level. Protein helps build the muscle, carbs help feed it, and real food is what allows it to keep working for a long time. So we got to address that. Third, athletes who build muscle are consistent, not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. If they do, then they should not probably be in your life, or they should be in your life less. I know that you might have parents or coaches who expect perfection out of you. That's not reasonable. They're not perfect. You're not perfect. What really matters is consistency. Consistency is the name of the game. I mentioned in the last podcast, consistency develops confidence. Consistency just develops results in general, though. If you can just stay consistent long enough, you're gonna go a lot further than everybody else. The ones who don't go far are the ones who quit. They're the ones who, when they lose, they give up and they get frustrated and they sit around and mope. But if you are willing to be like, yeah, I forgot breakfast today. I'm going to make up for it by making sure I get an extra snack in, an extra meal in. I'm going to make sure I do this thing. Or yeah, I maybe missed breakfast today, but I'm also going to make sure I have breakfast set up for tomorrow so that I don't make the same mistake twice. That's what's going to separate you, and not just separate you on the nutrition side, but on the life side. Now, if you can stay consistent, if you can, when you slip one day, that you make those corrections and you make up for it, you're going to go a lot further. It's not just about eating more for a week. It's about hitting your meals every day for a season, staying consistent, even when the chaos hits. I know one of the biggest challenges athletes face is to stay consistent in season, whether that be football season, whether that be basketball season, whether that be baseball or travel ball season, soccer, especially club soccer. Those are the times where it's hardest to stay consistent. That is why, number one, it is very, very important that you guys develop these habits in the off season. Get consistent in the off season, because then when chaos hits, you already have a solid foundation. We just need to make some tweaks. I'm working with a few basketball players right now in these month to 2 months leading up to the season, so that when they are in season, they're already set up. They already have a solid foundation. We just have to make some tweaks. We have to make some adjustments because they're going to be on the road a lot. So what do we do when they're on the road? What do we do when their only fast food options are McDonald's and Wendy's, And so we just got to make a plan. But if we have that solid foundation, if we're already consistent and we develop that consistency in the off season, it's so much more easier to develop or adapt or adjust in season, so that you're not losing muscle in season, so that you're not falling behind and breaking down your body in season. When you look at the elite athletes like LeBron, they amp up their intake in the season, then they amp up their intake even more in the playoffs, because they know that, number one, they're training at a more intense level, but also they understand that the if I can stay consistent with this, if I can even increase what I'm doing, my body's not going to break down as easily, which means less injuries, more likely playing at the highest level possible, and overall just more success. So, particularly when you guys are in high training loads, particularly when you guys are playing a lot, eat every 2 to 3 hours. So many athletes I talk to, they are just eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's it. They're like, oh yeah, sometimes I'll like a snack after school. Guys, if you want to build muscle, you need to eat more than just 3 meals a day. It doesn't mean that you're eating massive meals 5 times a day. A lot of my athletes are eating 5, 6, maybe even 7 times a day, but they're spacing out what they're doing each time. So they're doing snacks, they're doing mini meals, they're doing things that allow them to keep up on the intake. So really think less about, oh, hey, I've got to eat breakfast, I've got to eat lunch, I've got to eat dinner, and instead focus on, I've got to eat every 2 to 3 hours. I've got to eat breakfast within the first hour of waking up, or I've got to eat within the first hour of waking up. Take away the meal idea and just think about, oh, hey, I ate it at 7 o'clock. Now I got to eat at 10 o'clock. Then I ate at 10 o'clock. Now I got to eat by 1. I ate at 1. Now I got to eat at 4 ish. And yeah, we make little adjustments around your workouts of those time frames. But in general, eat every 2 to 3 hours and you're going to be much better off. You're going to be able to stay more consistent, and you're going to be able to build muscle more consistently and maintain that muscle more consistently. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to stop starting over. You need to stop bouncing all over the place. And so if you want to build muscle, start here. So this is what I do with my athletes. So I highly recommend you guys make notes on this. I highly recommend you guys actually take action on this. Number one, first thing we do, track what you eat for 3 days. Just be honest with yourself. Track everything. When did you eat? What did you eat? And then go and look back at it and be like, hey, what are these holes in my schedule? What am I lacking in these gaps? Maybe you see that, oh shoot, I 6 hours without eating. That's a problem. Shoot, I had no protein at this meal, or I had very little protein, or wow, I got my protein and my veggies in at this meal, but where's my carbs? Like little things like that. Be honest. And then let's start adding what's missing. So if your breakfast sucks, let's fix your breakfast. If you are not eating enough pre-workout or post-workout, so make sure you're eating enough pre and post-workout. If you are eating enough, but what you're eating sucks, then let's make adjustments to what you are eating. Like I said, it's about habits. It's about consistency. It's not about copying what everyone else eats. It's not about trying to be perfect. It's about building your own standard, because that's how you separate. That is how you can be elite. So make those adjustments, make those tweaks, and do it consistently. Don't just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm eating more protein and calories now consistently. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do." Or "I'm working out this many days a week. I'm just going to stick to that." It's like, "No, you're going to have to make some adjustments." You don't just do the same thing over and over again expecting, better results. There are some things that yes, you do have to do over and over again. But then there's other things you got to look at, "Oh, hey, well, I'm eating more. Why don't I actually start eating more better foods? Maybe I start eating fish 2 to 3 times a week. Maybe I start making sure I'm hitting fruits and veg 5 to 6 times a day. Maybe I switch my white breads to whole grain breads. Like little tweaks that you can do, small adjustments that can go a lot farther in life. That will take you a lot further as an athlete. So set your own standard, raise that standard because that is what's going to help you be a part of the 1%, not the 99. Now, I want to ask you guys. A lot of you guys listen to this podcast consistently, and I really, really, really appreciate you guys. This podcast is to help you guys succeed. If athletes actually listen to this on a consistent basis and actually take action on it, they wouldn't even need to necessarily pay for coaching. I give away a lot on this podcast. And so if you guys find this podcast useful, a couple of things. Number one, if you guys could leave a review, like leave us the 5 stars, that will help us grow on Spotify and Apple. If it's on YouTube, subscribe, like it, share it. In general, share it because you know somebody, you have a friend, you have a teammate, you have an athlete who is not building muscle, who is not reaching their full potential. And they need to hear the stuff. So share it with them. I know I will appreciate it, but more importantly, they will appreciate it. That's what matters. My goal is to impact 1 million youth lives. My goal is to help as many athletes as possible reach their full potential. So please share this with them. And as always, for you, remember, keep striving for greatness.